Good morning, everyone. The House Judiciary Committee will come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Briggs,
Here.
Representatives Carroll,
Designation.
Donahue, Hanbidge,
Designation.
Hohenstein,
Designation.
Howard, Kenyatta,
Designation.
Kincaid, Mays,
Designation.
Miller,
Designation.
Pielli, Rabb,
Designation.
Sanchez, Schusterman, Chairman Kaufman,
Here.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz, Ecker,
Designation.
Ham, Kale,
Designation.
Kerwin,
Designation.
Clunk, Kuzma,
Designation.
Ledbetter, Rigby,
Designation.
Shalaba. Mr. Chairman, a quorum is present.
Having a quorum, we will proceed with today's agenda. First on the agenda is House Bill 1176 by Representative Cerisi. The chair will recognize Chairman Cerisi for remarks on his bill, followed by council's description. Chairman, you can begin when you're situated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. This bill is a simple bill. We're looking to increase the eligibility to be able to get money from unclaimed property from $11,000 to $20,000. The last time it was changed is 2002. This bill is supported by the treasurer. You'll have a letter, I think, that you all have in your packet. But we want to make it easier for families of unclaimed property, and we know we're sitting on billions of dollars of taxpayer money that's unclaimed. So the easier they can get it, the better off it is. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Chairman. Council Vitale, anything to add?
Mr. Chairman, the bill takes effect in 180 days. There are no amendments.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the bill, House Bill 1176? Are there any comments on the bill? Are there any negative votes on the bill? Seeing none, congratulations, Chairman. House Bill 1176 should be reported as unanimous passage, and we will be reported as committed. Thank you. Next, the chair will call up Senate Bill 520 by Senator Baker. Council, please provide a brief description of the bill, Senate Bill 520.
Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 520 by Chairwoman Baker amends Title 18, Title 30, Title 34, and Title 42 to authorize the use of body-worn cameras by agents of the Office of Attorney General, officers of the Game Commission, the Fish and Boat Commission, and DCNR. The bill also does some cleanup to the Wiretap Act without changing the substance of the act to make it more user-friendly. The bill also provides for a transfer of unspent gaming revenue to local law enforcement grants to the Office of Attorney General and DCNR for the purposes of implementing the provisions of this act. The bill passed the Senate 50-0. Takes effect in 60 days, and there are no amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the bill, Senate Bill 520? Are there any comments on the bill? Representative Borowski on the bill. Borowitz on the bill. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, the changes to the Wiretap Act are cleanup changes, but primarily what we do is we authorize the Wiretap Act is what we use to allow for body cameras. So we're allowing officers from the Game Commission, Fish and Boat Commission, DCNR, and some officers of the Attorney General's office. This authorizes them. The additions to the bill are the authorizations of those agencies. But for example, one of the cleanup things we do is we put in one section of the Wiretap Act where all of the people authorized to use body cams, we put it in one section, so it's a cleanup.
Representative Kincaid on the bill. We took your mic. That was intentional. Representative Kincaid.
So, sounds right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point in time, I'm going to be a no on this bill. I I have some concerns just generally with the Wiretap Act and the number of people who are authorized to have body cameras, and how access to the footage of those body cameras is utilized. So I would appreciate the ability to kind of work with folks on putting some guardrails in, but at this point in time, I'm gonna be a no.
Thank you, Representative. Any additional comments on the bill? Seeing none, if the Secretary could please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs,
Yes.
Representatives Carroll, Donahue, Hanbidge,
Designation yes.
Hohenstein,
Designation yes.
Howard, Kenyatta,
Designation yes.
Kincaid, Mays,
Designation yes.
Miller,
Designation yes.
Pielli, Rab,
Designation no.
Sanchez, Schusterman, Chairman Kaufman,
Yes.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz, Ecker,
Designation yes.
Ham, Kale,
Designation yes.
Kerwin,
Designation yes.
Clunk, Kuzma,
Designation yes.
Ledbetter, Rigby,
Designation yes.
Shalaba. This bill passes a vote of 22 to 4.
Senate Bill 520 passes and will be reported as committed. Next, we're going to do a series of resolutions. The first resolution I will be calling up is House Resolution 36 by Representative Powell. Is the representative here? No. Council, could you please provide a description of the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, House Resolution 36 directs the Joint State Government Commission to conduct a study on the quality of carceral libraries in the Commonwealth. The findings and recommendations are due to the House of Representatives within 1 year of the adoption of the resolution. There are no amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the resolution, House Resolution 36? Are there any comments on the resolution? Representative Borowitz. Any other comments on the resolution? Representative Bonner, you're in order on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question. I don't know if the maker of the resolution is here with us today, but I'm just wondering, what is the status of librarians that oversee the state correctional system? Are there regional librarians? Are there institutional librarians? And whether the governor has weighed in on this request at all, since he has the overall responsibility for the operation of the correctional institutions.
Mr. Chairman, the administration has not weighed in on it because it's a resolution. We expect once we adopt the resolution, and if it's taken up on the floor, that's when the action will start to happen. As it relates to the librarians, we're not quite sure about that. That's why we want to. That's why we want to study.
I would think their input would precede the actual request for the study. That's just my thought for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ledbetter on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe the prime sponsor of the resolution is here. My question, and perhaps council can inform me, in reviewing the resolution, despite the summary indicating the quality being the focus of the study, I don't see in the resolution where that's defined. On the second page, line 6, it provides incarcerated or detailed individuals with library services. And then line 9, no study has been conducted to identify the strength and weaknesses of the current library policies. But the summary would indicate more of a focus on the catalog available within the library. So are we able to clarify what the study is identifying as the quality as quality?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's the reason why we're asking for the study, so we can clarify the things that you're raising.
Thank you. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll just point out that if we're going to run a resolution to conduct a study on the quality, I would like to define what it is that we're qualifying. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Clunk, you're in order on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question on what regulations oversee and are subject to these libraries. Do corrections libraries have their own library code of regulations, or are these libraries, do they fall under the typical Pennsylvania library code and statutes and regulations?
Mr. Chairman, these are all great questions, but I think that these questions are the reason why the prime sponsor of the resolution is asking for the study.
Follow-up question, second question, if I may. Are our correctional libraries, are they required to have an MLS librarian oversee them? So a master's in library science oversee? And I ask this question because my own libraries are going through, we have concerns about requirements where my Hanover library that is not considered, it's a member library of the York County Library System, not a branch library. They're required to have a master degree person overseeing that particular library. Is that what is required of our correctional libraries as well?
Yeah, I think that's why we're doing this study. The Department of Corrections implements the library services, and we are looking to see the strengths and the weaknesses of what's being offered. So I don't know if I wouldn't know what the Department of Corrections regulations are regarding who manages their library. I think that's what we would learn from the study.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Carroll.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I want to speak on a few things. So first, as we talk about the word punishment that is listed in this resolution, the Webster definition of punishment is to treat someone harsh in an unfair way. The point when it comes to our correctional facilities, they serve as an opportunity to rehabilitate people, to release them better than what they found them. So when it pertains to citizens of the Commonwealth, we want to make sure that we're rehabilitating people and we're not punishing them. And when we're talking about libraries, which is the core conversation of this resolution, we're talking about a basic need and necessity of a human being, regardless where they're located in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So this study is only an opportunity for us to find out what actually can be improved before we make recommendations, and I think that's the responsible thing to do. So I do want to thank the maker of the bill, Representative Powell, for bringing this to our attention, and I look forward to voting yes on this resolution. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments on the resolution? Chairman Kaufman, you're in order.
Yeah, I have to go back to what I think was started by Representative Borowitz. And while I do believe, obviously, that it's not the only reason, rehabilitation is absolutely part of the incarceration, but punishment is also part of the incarceration, reason for incarceration. Punish to subject to a penalty for an offense, sin, or fault. To inflict a penalty for an offense. Yeah, that one's, simply just that is difficult, and there are a lot of concerns that have been created by this conversation. I don't know that we're studying SCI education options. I know they have a robust library system, but the education options, which should, if we're going to study it, I would think would be part of that. I have a list of their education options in front of me that I could read through that most of our young people don't have free access to. So just with the definition or the exclusion of punishment, I'm just going to be a no today.
Thank you, Secretary. Please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs,
Yes.
Representatives Carroll,
Yes.
Donahue, Hanbidge,
Designation, yes.
Hohenstein,
Designation, yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kenyatta,
Designation, yes.
Kincaid, Mays,
Designation, yes.
Miller,
Designation, yes.
Pielli, Rab,
Designation, yes.
Sanchez, Schusterman, Chairman Kaufman,
No.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz, Ecker,
Designation, no.
Ham, Kale,
Designation, no.
Kerwin,
Designation, no.
Clunk, Kuzma,
Designation, no.
Ledbetter, Rigby,
Designation, no.
Shalaba. This bill passes a vote of 14 to 12.
House Resolution 36 passes and will be reported as committed. Next, the chair will call up House Resolution 59 by Representative Kazim. The chair will recognize Representative Kazim for brief remarks on her resolution, and then go to council. Representative, you are in order when you are ready.
Thank you, Chairman Briggs and Chairman Kaufman. Thank you to the rest of the Judiciary Committee for having me here today. I am here to speak to you about my resolution, House Resolution 59, which would designate November 1st of this year, 2025, as State Correctional Institution Day. My aim with this resolution is to raise awareness of the conditions in our state correctional facilities and call for greater legislative oversight. Let me give you two experts' views on a correctional system. In 2015, the Supreme Court Justice Kennedy wrote in the court's opinion in Davis versus Alea that prisoners are shut away out of sight, out of mind, allowing the public to easily ignore the conditions of their confinement. This has resulted in, according to the Human Rights Watch Prison Project, confined individuals suffering from physical mistreatment, excessive disciplinary sanctions, barely tolerable physical conditions, and inadequate medical and mental health care. In Pennsylvania, currently, we have 73,000 people who are currently incarcerated, making Pennsylvania number 26 among the 50 states in terms of the highest incarceration rates. We are obligated, I'm going to say it again, we are obligated as lawmakers to ensure that we know how people are treated in our prisons and that we ensure that they are still treated humanely with a goal towards rehabilitation. We as Pennsylvania's legislators can be instrumental in improving the standards of treatment and living condition for the incarcerated in our state. My resolution's basic aim would be to raise awareness about prison conditions and the need for humane treatment for both the Pennsylvania public and its legislators. Second, the resolution will call for greater legislative oversight in monitoring correctional facilities. This oversight is critical to making prisons and jails safer, more accountable, and transparent. Without it, legislators and taxpayers alike are often left in the dark about the true status of the criminal legal systems they fund. Third, we legislators should examine how state funding is allocated to prisons. Finally, this resolution recommends and encourages all members of the House of Representatives to conduct visits to state correctional institutions at least twice annually. The goal of this resolution is that Pennsylvania lawmakers develop a comprehensive understanding of the prison system to improve criminal justice policies. Chairman, I would love to add that as a House member, I personally myself visit almost all SEIs across our Commonwealth. And I have met, I can guarantee you, almost constituents from every member in this committee and across the floor of the House. And I've spoke to many of them. My job as a legislator, like the rest of us, is to find policies that help our criminal justice system. Not the individual directly, and just who we are, my faith always tell me to still do good, no matter what. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Council, anything to add?
Yes, there are no amendments.
Thank you. The question is, will the committee report the resolution, House Resolution 59? Are there comments on the resolution? I saw Representative Klunk's hand first, so Representative Klunk, you're in order.
Thank you, Chairman Briggs. November 1st is my sister's birthday, which is a great day in our family. But I was wondering, to the representative, is there a significance for November 1st? Is this a national state correctional institution day? Is there a national organization that is supporting this effort? What is the significance of that particular day?
There isn't a specific significance for November, but that is around the time a lot of incarcerated individuals like to meet with legislators as well, to even focus on policies, and just to really just get to know their legislators as well, especially for their families as well that want to know who their legislators are. So that's how they connect with them. So that's the reason why I picked November.
So there is no national day for state correctional institutions. This is purely you picking this particular day.
Correct, but again, I'm saying that most of the SCIs in November, that's around the time they like to congregate with their legislators.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ledbetter on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the good lady from Delaware County for submitting the resolution before us today. With that in mind, upon reviewing the resolution and the intent, the focus seems to be on the individuals that are housed in the correctional institutions across the Commonwealth. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, have some latitude, I would like to read something for the record.
You're in order. Well, we'll see how
Every day,
much latitude you're asking for. So
every
you're in
day,
order till
thousands
now.
of dedicated public servants go to work to protect the good people of Pennsylvania, putting their lives on the line to ensure the safety of our communities. I'm honored to award these 12 Pennsylvania heroes with the inaugural Keystone First Responder Awards, recognizing them for their service and sacrifice. Every Pennsylvanian deserves to be safe and feel safe in their community, and our firefighters, EMS personnel, state troopers, police officers, and corrections officers run towards danger when others flee. Today, we honor the memory of those who gave their lives in the line of duty and reaffirm our commitment to always support members of law enforcement, first responders, and their families, and work to make sure they have the tools and personnel they need to protect our communities. Quote, Governor Josh Shapiro. Mr. Chairman, on September 24th, 2024, His Excellency the Governor sent a letter to an individual who has family that are constituents of mine, inviting Officer James Britton Jr. to come to this very building and receive the 2024 Keystone First Responder Award. This was because Officer Britton suffered a life-threatening and career-ending injury due to violence within the correctional institution that he served. Mr. Chairman, to run this resolution with a focus on the incarcerated individuals and make no mention or acknowledge the safety and danger that the correctional officers exist in their day-to-day life professionally is something that I hope that the maker of the resolution will be open to perhaps incorporating into the language of the resolution prior to it running on the floor. And because of its absence, I will be a no on this committee vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Kazim, you're in order.
Thank you so much, Representative Ledbetter. With all due respect, thank you, one, for recognizing the individuals and our first responders and the officer that I also knew as well, so thank you. With all due respect, the correctional officers, if you meet with them, again, this is why I'm encouraging everyone to go and visit the SCIs twice a year. They would also complain to you about the conditions of the prisons. So this resolution is not only just specific to the inmates, but is also talking about oversight when it comes to conditions about the prisons. Any condition that has to do with the prison is concerning anyone in the facility. As far as the excessive disciplinary action, we still have laws in place to tell you what you can and cannot do. And respectfully, there have also been SCIs that have been under the watch under the state police as well, who had to investigate individuals who did abuse that power. So although I respect our first responders and our correctional officers, no matter what career you do, that still gives no excuse for anyone to do anything inhumanely. So thank you again for your comments, Representative Ledbetter, but I'm sure the correctional officers would love to see the conditions of the prisons also improve, especially because they have to work in it, let alone safety that has been an issue for them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We're going to Representative Ledbetter for a
Thank you,
second.
Chairman. Representative Kazim, having collaborated with you before and worked together previously, hopefully we can come together and incorporate some language so that we can drive this forward. Thank you.
Representative Borowitz on the resolution. If you could, were you looking to be recognized? If you could grab a mic. So I've been told some folks can't hear you online.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been to my state prisons. Well, I had Center County, so I was over those, but I went to them often. And it is the correctional officers that are overlooked right now. And it's sad that that's not included in this resolution, and I thank Representative Ledbetter for bringing that up. The ones we need to make it safer for is our correctional officers, and I've talked to them. I've gone to hearings with them, and I'm good friends with them, and they work, many of them, in my district. So it's a shame that this resolution leaves them out and elevates convicts while leaving out correctional officers. So I guess that's the direction of the Democrat Party. Thank you.
Representative Kincaid on the resolution.
Thank you, Chairman. So my brother-in-law is actually a corrections officer at SEI Camp Hill. And in speaking with him and speaking with other folks at prisons that I have visited around our Commonwealth, the consistent message is that they would like to see our prison cultures improve. My brother-in-law was witness to violence between two inmates that rocked, really, in many ways, the whole of their facility because of the nature of how violent the interaction was. And the concern about safety when we talk about inmates certainly does impact our corrections officers, even if they're not the focus. But when we make conditions better for the folks who are housed there, we make working conditions better for the people who work there. And I think the perfect example of this is at SEI Chester, where they had the experimental unit that's now become a permanent unit of Little Scandinavia. And we had corrections officers who worked in that unit who went into it skeptically, that it wasn't something that was going to be effective or useful, and that we were such a different society than the countries in Scandinavia that we would not be able to implement a lot of the policies there. What they found was the total opposite. They found was that this unit, because it improved conditions for the inmate population and it gave them ownership over their space, it improved conditions for the corrections officers. These corrections officers were talking to us about how they actually really enjoyed coming to work, that it had decreased the stress level that they experienced, that they felt like they were actually making changes and helping and you know, helping to improve the lives of folks that were going to be returning to the community. And so they had a more positive experience because we improved conditions for the inmates. And I think the fact that in Pennsylvania, the average lifespan of a corrections officer is 54 years. And that has a lot to do with the fact that we are seeing a high rate of suicide among corrections officers. We're seeing stress increased among corrections officers. And I am hyper aware of what that actually means for my sister, for my nephews, as my brother-in-law approaches his 50th birthday. And so I don't believe that this resolution in any way undermines the importance of what our corrections officers do, but I do believe that it is important that all of us go and see the conditions of prisons across Pennsylvania and see the working conditions of the corrections officers across Pennsylvania and understand that when we make prisons better for the people who live there, we make prisons better for the people who work there, we make them safer, we decrease the stress, we help our corrections officers to live better, higher quality lives, and they feel more valued in their workspace. So I don't believe that there is a separation between the treatment of inmates and the conditions, the working conditions of corrections officers. They are the same. And if we're going to be serious about making sure that we are protecting and lifting up our corrections officers, then we need to improve the conditions of our corrections institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Carroll, you're in order on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Chairman. First, I want to thank the representative for her leadership around this resolution and encouraging other members of this body to have an opportunity to engage with correctional officers, with citizens of the Commonwealth who are currently incarcerated, and other personnel and staff that currently operate within the Department of Corrections. I do want to highlight the fact that the fiscal budget for DOC last year and this year was $2.7 billion, the third largest expenditure in our budget. I think the responsible thing for any person who votes on a budget that's a part of this body is to be able to see where we spend our money. And especially when there's an expenditure to the extent of $2.7 billion. I myself has visited many correctional facilities across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and had an opportunity to learn a lot about the day-to-day operations as it pertains to our correctional facilities. There is concerns on both sides. We're talking about individuals who are located inside of these facilities from offenses ranging from simple assault all the way to homicide with a deadly weapon. When you're talking about a person who may be there for simple assault and they're being attacked by other inmates who are there for more severe crimes, that is a concern that we need to be aware of. When we're talking about correctional officers who are also being attacked by inmates, that is also a fair concern. I think the only way that we make informed decisions in this body is if we actually engage with those who are being impacted by our decisions. I don't think that we should be voting and voicing our concerns from pulpits and not talking to the constituents of this Commonwealth that actually do these jobs on a day-to-day operation and those who are being impacted by our decisions. So again, I want to thank the gentlewoman from Montgomery County Delaware County. I'm sorry. But I want to thank you so much for your leadership around this. And I do want to encourage my colleagues, both on this committee in this body on both sides of the aisle, to engage with our state correctional facilities as we continue each year to fund this system and understanding where we're sending taxpayer dollars. So thank you again, Chairman, for recognizing me, and I look forward to voting yes on this resolution.
Thank you, Representative. Our in-house correctional officer, Representative Pielli, you're in order on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Having worked in a prison, I can understand the concerns some of our colleagues have cited. But I don't see this as an either-or bill. I see this as an and also. Better conditions, safer conditions, healthier conditions in a prison leads to easier management of a prison population, less incidents, less violence. So looking into this resolution, I think is important. Having said that, perhaps we can include, some changes, some language to better enunciate that this also benefits correctional officers. I see on page 2 at the beginning, it says, while some state correctional institutions have been moved or rebuilt, incarcerated individuals and state correctional officers continue to report serious past infestations, black mold, exposed wiring. So the concerns clearly are not just from an inmate perspective, they're also from a correctional officer perspective. And having said that, if we promote a narrative too much of us against them, I think we're going to fail to overcome some of these very important problems. So I will be supporting this resolution. I look forward to any tweaks that we can do to it to help folks feel more comfortable. But I believe the intent of this resolution benefits everyone involved in our correctional facility. And I'm always here to promote both our correctional officers and the betterment of those facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other comments before we go to a vote? I just want to add, I want to thank the representative for mentioning that some of the most meaningful, for introducing the resolution, some of the most meaningful things I've done as chairman of Judiciary has been visit our institutions and talk to inmates. Not something that I probably would have done otherwise, but it really is enlightening. I kind of also agree with Representative Pielli. If there is a way that you are open to trying to insert a word or two to satisfy some folks, I'd encourage that. But the point of this resolution, I think you're right on point, that encourage all of us to go and see the conditions and talk to people that are there. Back in the day, there used to be a correction officer recognition resolution. That's not what this is. If someone wants to reintroduce something like that this session, I'd take a look at it and possibly put it on the calendar. So just for ideas out there. But thank you for being a champion. And did you have anything? Oh, Chairman Kaufman, for closing before roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly don't want to belabor this conversation today, but I do share the concerns of many members that while I know there are certainly improvements that can be done in our state correctional institutions, I have concern that some of these resolutions are more shooting darts at the institution, the DOC, the correctional officers, and I would, rather see something that is far more, heaven forbid, use the word inclusive of everyone who is involved in the correctional process, rather than, seemingly targeted at one group. So at this point, I'm going to be a no, but I certainly hope we can get to some language that's more agreed to and includes everyone. Thank you.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs?
Yes.
Representatives Carroll? Donahue? Hanbidge?
Designation yes.
Hohenstein?
Designation yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Designation yes.
Kincaid? Mays?
Designation yes.
Miller?
Designation yes.
Pielli? Rab?
Designation yes.
Sanchez? Schusterman? Chairman Kaufman?
No.
Representatives Bonner? Borowitz? Ecker?
Designation no.
Ham? Kale?
Designation no.
Kerwin?
Designation no.
Clunk? Kuzma?
Designation no.
Ledbetter? Rigby?
Designation no.
Shalaba. This bill passes a vote of 14 to 12.
House Resolution 59 passes and will be reported as committee. Thank you, Representative. Next on the agenda, The chair calls up House Resolution 189 by Representative Zepeda Freitas. The chair will recognize the representative for remarks on her resolution. When you are ready or in order. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Briggs and Chairman Kaufman and committee members for the opportunity to speak on regarding House Resolution 189. House Resolution 189 is a common sense fact-finding measure. It directs the Joint State Government Commission to study the nutritional value of food served in our state prisons and the related health outcomes of incarcerated individuals. A significant number of incarcerated individuals suffer from chronic diseases like hypertension and diabetes. If left unaddressed, poor nutrition exacerbates these conditions, resulting in higher long-term healthcare costs paid for by taxpayers. The health of incarcerated individuals also impacts re-entry outcomes and public health upon release. The Department of Correction states that menus are based on the dietary guidelines for Americans, yet we have no independent assessment verifying whether those standards are consistently met. This resolution gives us the data needed to ensure policies are implemented as intended and to identify potential gaps in practice. House Resolution 189 includes a cost-benefit analysis of ways to provide higher nutritional value at potentially lower cost, such as substituting expensive low-nutrient items with cost-effective health-promoting alternatives. Nutrition, as we all know, is a basic human right, not a privilege. Food should never be used punitively. This resolution is about gathering facts. We're simply asking for a comprehensive report that will inform future legislative decisions. This resolution provides us a roadmap for understanding, reform, and ultimately a more just and sustainable correctional system. As lawmakers, we have a duty to ensure that our correctional systems reflects not only the rule of law, but the values of basic human dignity and public accountability. I respectfully ask for your support in advancing House Resolution 189 out of this committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Representative. Council, anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This resolution passed the committee last session. The commission shall issue a report and recommendation to the House of Representatives no later than 1 year after the adoption of the resolution. There are no amendments.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the resolution, House Resolution 189? Are there any comments on the resolution? Representative Klunk, you are in order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the maker bringing this forward. I did notice, so on page 2 of the resolution, line 15 starts with, whereas in comparison to the general population, a higher rate of incarcerated individuals report having one or more chronic medical conditions, such as hypertension or diabetes. And then on page 3, under the study will include, at minimum, and then at the bottom under 8, it says the medical and physical health of incarcerated individuals, and 9, the prevalence of illness and disease among incarcerated individuals. I was wondering if the maker might be willing to have a conversation about maybe tying these in better, because I think it would be helpful to understand, did an individual come to the facility with hypertension or with diabetes, or was that developed while in the institution? Because I think that is certainly something that we need to understand, if this was something, you know, that the individual came with, or did that develop while in the institution, and what potentially is the reason behind that? Is that nutrition based? Is that genetics of the individual? You know, sometimes you hit a certain age and just certain things kick into your system. Or is it, you know, lack of, you know, exercise? What is it? So I think that this particular section could be just better stated and some additional information collected during the study, because I do think that that would be informative, you know, to us and to the institution. So wanted to bring that up as something that maybe we could work on to make the resolution a little bit better. And then one other point I wanted to make, so in number 7 on page 3, it talks about an analysis of food quality and palatability. which so palatability is the enjoyability of the food, the likability of the food, which is somewhat incongruent with sometimes the nutritional value of a food. And I just say this with my own children. Look, they prefer bacon over green beans, right? It's just what they like. They prefer, certain things over maybe the more nutritional option that I'm trying to feed them. So I don't know if palatability is maybe the best word to use there. Maybe we can talk about that, because sometimes you might not enjoy it, but it's the best thing for you. So just some comments there. Thank you.
Representative Sapedi Freight.
And I thank you for your comments, and I welcome the opportunity to have a conversation, and I appreciate your interest in highlighting why this study is important, right? To understand what's happening with our food in our correction facilities and how it impacts the folks that are incarcerated. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Haim on the resolution, you're on order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been to our prisons unannounced so that I could not get a dog and pony show. I wanted to see what truly was going on there. And just so happened it was a Friday, and the individual, the superintendent, I don't know, I guess it was Friday, so she dressed down, and she was so concerned that I was there that she was wearing jeans. And so when she came out, I said to her, I got to tell you, I don't care what you're wearing. Like, I literally don't care. I just want to know how the conditions inside, and I want to see what's going on a daily basis. But that being said, I've had conversations with corrections officers and also those who are housed in the SCIs. And in here it says, page 2, line 13 and 14, food has been used as a means of punishment and is currently being used for behavior modification. And I'm just wondering if the sponsor can maybe explain just a little bit what that looks like, because in conversations that I've had with inmates, I've never heard that, and so just interested in what that is in regards to. Thank you.
Sure. I too have had my share of visits, and I've asked questions about food in particular, and oftentimes they're doubling up on the starches to kind of like fill the inmates. But do I have testimony about, or facts to prove that food has been used in a punitive manner? Not necessarily. But I know that there's a potential, because we know that, there's abuse of power. Thank you.
Anything else, Representative Haim? Thank you. Representative Carroll, you're in order.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Representative, for bringing forth this resolution. I have 2 quick points. So a previous speaker, the gentlewoman from York County, spoke about some of the health conditions as it pertains to some of the inmates inside of our correctional facilities. I have first-handedly spoke with an inmate who came into the facility that did not have hypertension, but left 100 pounds more than what they were before they entered, and also left with hypertension, and now is insulin dependent for the rest of their life. So I definitely think that the study, I do agree with the gentlewoman that we should recognize when the point of contraction or development of the health condition started. I mean, it's important because what we recognize is that we're going to pay for this on the front end or the back end. Either we're going to fix the food or we're going to continue to have to pay for people's health care. And some of these folks, or a lot of these folks, are going to be eligible for Medicaid, which is a program that we fund. The second thing that the previous speaker talked about when it comes to punitive or being reprimanded with food, which is another concern of mine, because one of the things that I recognize or I have heard is that if a inmate is not up at a particular time when they do count and they come around the jails to make sure that all the inmates are accounted for, if that inmate is not dressed and standing at the back of their cell, they will miss a meal. So I also would love to see if this study includes some of the policies that include the way that food is distributed to inmates. I would like to see if that we can also do a review of the policy. So that is my comment, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative Carroll. Representative Kincaid, you're in order on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to highlight that the food that's served in our corrections facilities is also served to our corrections officers. They are not permitted to bring in outside food. They can't bring their own lunch. They can't bring their own dinner. So if they are working a shift over a time when a meal is served, they are eating exactly the same food that the inmates are. And so if we are not providing adequately nutritional food to the inmates, we're also not providing adequately nutritional food to our corrections officers, to the staff in these facilities. And we also have a high rate of hypertension and diabetes among our corrections officers for, in many ways, that reason. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other comments or questions before we go to Chairman Kaufman? Chairman Kaufman, you are in order on the resolution.
Thank you. I'm about, this is a struggle here. This Department of Corrections, the Department of Corrections in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has been under Democrat administrative leadership for 10 years. I'm not really sure why, as a legislature, we can't just ask questions like what. I have a 4-page list of specialized diets that folks in the Department of Corrections get. Just so I don't waste a lot of time, I'm just going to read 1 page rather than all 4. GERD allergy diets, standard. No nut, soy, legume, no fish, no legume, no nut, soy, legume, no potato, no nut, soy, legume, no dairy, no eggs, no beef, red meat, no nut, soy, legume, no fish, no nut, soy, legume, no corn, no nut, soy, legume. I mean, literally, just going through all of these dietary restrictions. They accommodate 330 different religious meals a year. The idea that inflammatory language like food has been used as a means of punishment is currently being used for behavior modification in the resolution, which cannot even be cited. I don't understand what we're doing here today when you can just go to DOC, say, hey, could you give me this information? It's not like they're Republicans and they're going to tell you what they want to tell you. They're your own governor and administration at the DOC. So, I'm voting no, and I wish we would waste no more time of the legislature's time on this issue today. Thank you.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs?
Yes.
Representatives Carroll? Donahue? Yes. Hanbidge?
Designation yes.
Hohenstein?
Designation yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Designation yes.
Kincaid? Mays?
Designation yes.
Miller?
Designation yes.
Pielli? Rab?
Designation yes.
Sanchez? Schusterman?
Designation yes.
Chairman Kaufman?
No.
Representatives Bonner? Borowitz? Ecker?
Designation no.
Ham? Kale?
Designation no.
Kerwin?
Designation no.
Clunk? Kuzma?
Designation no.
Ledbetter? Rigby?
Designation no.
Shalaba? Mr. Chairman, this bill passes a vote of 14 to 12.
Thank you. House Resolution 189 passes and will be reported on the reported as committed. Last on the agenda, I'm calling up under any other business, House Resolution 280 by Representative Kincaid. Representative Kincaid will be in order on remarks on her resolution, and then followed by council. Representative Kincaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution would create a study with the Joint State Government Commission to study the environmental conditions of our corrections institutions, understanding that at a point where many of these institutions were built, the surrounding area was not necessarily the healthiest for folks who are living and working there. And so understanding air quality, water quality, and just general environmental quality of these facilities will help us to ensure that the folks who are housed in these facilities and the folks who are working in these facilities are able to stay healthy, and we can address any remediation issues that are necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Council, anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's important to point out that the environmental study of the state correctional institutions is to determine if incarcerated individuals and the corrections officers protecting them are being exposed to harmful, hazardous, or unsanitary conditions. The department is required to deliver the findings and recommendations to the General Assembly within 24 months, and there are no amendments.
Thank you, Council. The question is, will the committee report the resolution, House Resolution 280? Are there any comments on the resolution? Chairman Kaufman, and then we're going to go to roll call. Chairman Kaufman.
Thank you. Again, if there are issues, we could, possibly just talk to DOC and say, hey, what have you identified? Could we look at it more in depth? Back in 2014, as there were environmental concerns at SCI Fayette, the Pennsylvania Department of Health did a study, determined there are no indications that the environment contributes to health issues there, no environmental data demonstrating that there are human exposures to carcinogens. I've heard in other scenarios SCI Fayette having a higher rate of cancer patients while they have their chemotherapy unit at SCI Fayette. That could be an issue. Air quality, DEP recently conducted air quality inspections. No concerns were identified. Water quality, the 2024 water quality report identified no concerns with water quality. I just think we don't have to pass a resolution about everything. Go to DOC, have the conversation, and ask the questions. So I'm a no today.
I think that's why members are introducing resolutions to have an independent party do these studies that would benefit the whole General Assembly when the report's done. I've called individually and asked individual questions, and eventually I get an answer. But I think it's would be valuable to have these resolutions passed.
Mr. Chairman, isn't this resolution for DOC to do the study? Is it? I thought. I'm sorry. I thought it was an internal DOC study.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't flip the page. Yeah, so it would be in collaboration with other entities. I didn't look at the next resolution. I apologize. The previous one was Joint Commission.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
I'm still no. Thanks.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Briggs,
Yes.
Representatives Carroll, Donahue, Handedge,
Designation, yes.
Hohenstein,
Designation, yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kenyatta,
Designation, yes.
Kincaid,
Yes.
Mays,
Designation, yes.
Miller,
Designation, yes.
Pielli, Rab,
Designation, yes.
Sanchez, Schusterman,
Designation, yes.
Chairman Kaufman,
No.
Representatives Bonner, Borowitz, Ecker,
Designation, no.
Ham, Kale,
Designation, no.
Kerwin,
Designation, no.
Clunk, Kuzma,
Designation, no.
Ledbetter, Rigby,
Designation, no.
Shalaba. This bill passes a vote of 14 to 12.
House Resolution 280 passes and will be reported as committee. Today's meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, members.